Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our another episode of our From the Experts call. We have Austin Weiniger with us today. Austin is a senior manager of global health and science education for USANA Health Sciences. We're excited to have him here to talk about the USANA difference. What makes USANA so unique and different from other companies out there? I've known Austin for a while. I've been able to travel with him to different locations and events. I always learn so much when I listen to Austin. I think he has such a great way of presenting information. So I'm excited to hear about what he has to present today. So before we get started, in the comments, please, we'd love to hear where you're from, where you're chiming in. If you've been invited to this, we're excited that you're here. Maybe this is the first time you're learning a little bit more about USANA. Please share this with other people. That's the intention of these calls. We want to share this incredible information with as many as we can. So, with that, let's turn the time over to Austin. Austin, thanks for being here with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you for having me. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes USANA different from my perspective at USANA. I've been part of USANA's research and development team for about 11 years now. I've served a few different various roles there, from helping modify some of our formulas because we operate in so many different countries, since we have to take the same formula and make little changes from country to country. So I've worked on that before. I've worked on just simple ideation of what it takes to build a new product when we're starting from square one, what people want, what ingredients are most important, doing some research on those ingredients, as well as what I'm doing here today, a lot of time with customer education. So I'll go through this kind of step by step, a little bit of what we do specifically in USANA's research and development department to make extremely high quality supplements and offer you the best health benefits we can from those supplements. So this right here is our mission statement on this slide, which is basically for the research and development department to develop both high quality and science-based products. And both of these are really critical, the quality and the science, because you can have a product that's great on the science end, but if it's not built to the same standards that your clinical studies were done, for example, then obviously that's not going to work. And vice versa. It can be a really high quality tablet, but if there's no research on the ingredients or no benefit to them, it doesn't work as well. So I'll walk you through each of these items and what we're doing to provide science and the quality. So from the science perspective, first, you simply have to be doing it. A lot of companies out there are either contracting out their products to just an outside manufacturing facility and relying on them exclusively for the formulas because they don't have their own research development department, versus we actually have that at USANA. During my time there, we've done clinical studies where we've partnered with outside organizations, as well as ones that we've done internally at our own facilities. So we actually have a small lab inside the USANA building where I'm at, our main headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah, where we've done studies where we'll, for example, we want to look at the bioavailability of vitamin C, for example, in our poly C form compared to ascorbic acid. So you could do a baseline blood draw, have people take a supplement and measure their blood levels of vitamin C throughout the day. In addition to an individual nutrient, you can measure for different metabolites or biomarkers of health. There's a lot of different things we can look at depending on our end goal. And it doesn't always have to be the same day. Sometimes we're looking at this study will take place over weeks or months, depending on what we're looking for. So here's an example of some serum draws that we've looked at before, that just the things you can do when you're looking for blood. So what I've done here is an example of one of these studies. This was probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago that this study was done. This was in collaboration with an Italian research group looking at Mariva and bioavailable curcumin. So we've known for a long time, research community, that curcumin has a lot of potential health benefits. And curcumin is the compound found in turmeric. It's that yellow root that's used commonly in Indian curries and a variety of other foods as well. It has some antioxidant health benefits. It helps support healthy inflammation. In foods, you can eat a pretty substantial amount of it, but most of us just aren't eating large amounts of it on a regular basis. And so we wanted to be able to offer those same benefits in a supplement. The problem with putting them in a supplement is it's typically poorly absorbed. So it takes really large doses that you just wouldn't be able to fit inside of a tablet or capsule or any small supplement form. So we created this new formulation with this Italian group, and you can see that this formulation increased absorption anywhere from 20 times to 60 times better absorption. On average, it lands about in the middle there. When you look at all the total curcuminoids, it's about 30 times better absorption using this new form compared to typical curcumin. So we actually published a study on this with this Italian research group. These underneath the title there, comparative absorption, you'll see John Cuomo as one of the USANA scientists that was working on it at the time. This Giovanni was one of the Italian researchers we collaborated with. We have Adam Dern, Eric Schneider, Tony McKinnon, Mark Brown, Brian Dixon, all were USANA scientists that worked on this particular study. This was a research study that we did with Boston University, looking at grapeseed extract along with our poly-C, so basically a vitamin C formulation together. And what they were looking at was blood flow with these combination together. And we found that they used a little instrument to measure blood flow through the fingertips, so the small capillaries is what we were looking at. And we found that it increased blood flow in the subjects compared to placebo. So these are some of the different types of research that we're doing on a regular basis to make sure that we're on the cutting edge and providing meaningful health improvements through our products. Here's some of the different groups we've partnered with over the years. Recently, we've done a few studies with Australian research groups on Copa Prime, for example, is one of the products we've had some of our research on most recently. We've done some Nutrimil studies and some microbiome studies, have kind of been our topics of interest in the most recent years. If you're ever wanting to look at some of this research, you can go to askthescientist.com, which is a website that my team runs as part of USANA's research and development group. On that website, you'll find these research studies. Just type in research in the search bar and you'll find all the scientific studies that we publish, as well as some of the ones that aren't formally published, but are just internal pilot studies. In addition to that information, you can find lots of information about all of USANA's products, as well as general health and wellness on askthescientist.com. Next, we're going to take a look at the quality aspect of this. So first and foremost, you have to do the research when you're planning and designing a product. And as I mentioned earlier, the problem is when you're doing these research studies, you're typically doing small batches, you're using special select sources of raw ingredients because you're contacting suppliers saying, hey, can you send us a sample of this? We're wanting to incorporate it in a new product potentially. Well, the suppliers are excited because you might be buying a potential future product from them. They're going to send you a special sample, often for free, for you to make this pilot batch for your study. And the long-term problem with that is there's no guarantees that when you're buying that same ingredient from them in bulk years and years down the line, that it's the same quality that they sent you for a special sample study. And so you need to be able to replicate that long-term. And you need to be able to build strong relationships with your suppliers and be able to trust them. They're giving you a high quality item. So when you're looking at quality, you have the raw materials have to be consistent through these large manufacturing batches. The formulas also need to be able to be consistent because once again, you're using a different manufacturing equipment a little bit. So it really changes a lot when you're building things to scale, and you have to always be monitoring every step of this process to make sure that it's improving and staying at good quality. So USANA is an FDA registered drug facility. And what that means is essentially the same quality control measures that go for making pharmaceutical type supplements or pharmaceutical type products are also being used to make our supplements in the USANA facility. Here's our registration for certificate for that. You can just look it up on the internet if you want. Go to the FDA website and you can search for USANA and you'll find our registration information. In addition to being registered with the US FDA, we're registered with, this certificate here is for the Australian government, which is called the TGA, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, but we're registered with different FDA type groups of countries all around the world. So we work with the Philippines, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, the EU, and we have to meet the different quality requirements for every single one of these different countries or organizations all around the world. And what's interesting about that is each of these countries have their strong points when it comes to quality control, and some of them also have kind of weaker points where they're not as good at measuring quality control. And when you have to meet the standards of everyone basically globally, it really provides a good structure, a good foundation for overall high quality control measures. When they come in and audit our facilities or audit our products, you know that we're meeting the standards of nearly 24 countries all around the world with our products. In addition to these different government agencies, this USP is a voluntary group that we have. We meet some of their standards. They also come in and audit our facility on a periodic basis. You can see that we meet their good manufacturing practices. We also adhere to the good manufacturing practices for NSF, which is another voluntary organization that we pay to come in and audit our facilities, audit our products, and look at them. In addition to just general manufacturing, we also meet basically the good manufacturing practices and ingredient testing for NSF for sport. And what the sport means is they're actually testing it for banned substances, some of our products. And by banned substances, I mean for athletes. So Olympic athletes or any sort of professional athletes, there's a pretty set list of ingredients they can't take. And there's even some ingredients some things they can't consume, but there's other ones that mimic those. So we have to work with these organizations, the NSF, to actually make sure that we're not doing any of these things that would create a false positive either. So these are some of the things that we're constantly going through to make sure that we provide the highest quality products. And not just that it meets our own internal standards, but it meets basically the highest global standards you can find anywhere. In addition to some of these manufacturing standards, we have kosher certification for a number of products. We have halal certification for a number of products. And in addition to whether you may or may not be interested in kosher or halal certification, some of the things they're looking at is documentation. They're looking at cleanliness of equipment, cleaning it between batches of products properly. They don't want any cross-contamination of even just the airflow through our facility. So we have to actually have special airflow from room to room and filter systems to make sure that no contamination is being occurred of these ingredients. So it's a very tightly knit manufacturing process. And then we're a member of a number of other different organizations. There's a few listed here, the UNPA, American Herbal Products Association. Here's some of these global organizations I was mentioning earlier. We have Health Canada that we register our products with. And so really a lot of different organizations all around the globe that we meet the standards for every one of them. And with that, I'd like to give you a little bit of a tour of our facility. So this is our building that has both some of our office staff, our research and development staff, as well as our manufacturing facility and staff. When we receive a batch of raw ingredients, you can see on this palette, that's what that is, a batch of raw ingredients. We take that and we pull a sample from those raw ingredients. And while we have that sample, we'll take it to the lab. We actually send all of those products or all those raw ingredients to a quarantine area where they can't be used for any manufacturing or even in the same area as manufacturing while we're waiting to test all of those raw ingredients. This testing is purely voluntary. These aren't things that are required by the US government. For the most part, most companies are simply taking the word of their raw ingredient suppliers and not necessarily doing their own research on it. So we'll bring that sample to our to our lab. In the lab, we test for a number of different things. We're testing to make sure that it has the ingredient we're looking for at the level we want. For example, the vitamin C is at the level we want. The vitamin A or other carotenoids have the vitamin C and vitamin A in there. In addition to that, we're testing for contamination. We're looking for contamination of heavy metals like lead, arsenic, mercury. We're looking for contamination of biological components. So some of the biological contaminants that are most common find in some of your herbal or plant compounds. I mentioned grapeseed extract was one of our studied ingredients before. Well, things like grapeseed extract or even turmeric or other plant compounds have different growing seasons from year to year. A wet and humid growing season will result in a little bit more fungus and mold potentially on the plant compounds. Well, when those are processed, they can end up in the raw ingredient that people consume. And so we have to actually test for these biological contaminants as well to make sure that they aren't going to make anybody sick if they were to take our product. After it passes those all those tests, then we can take it to our manufacturing steps. So this is a big mixer. That's what this is. And that silver hole on the top is where we load in the raw ingredients. It's almost as if you're baking a cake. We have a set recipe essentially for every single product. We weigh out the raw ingredients and dump them in this mixer that spins around and mixes all of the powder together. It's then loaded in these bags, which are then sent to a tablet press. This tablet press is what creates the shape, size, appearance of all the tablets that you see. And you can assume from USANA or anywhere out there is using a tablet press just similar to this. We have a number of different types of tablet presses. For a bilayer tablet like this, for example, uses a different type of tablet press. And so depending on our end goal, we use a different tablet shape or look. And then it's sent to our bottling line. So this is running down these chutes, these capsules here. The bottles run along, the tablets or capsules are measured by weight to determine how many go into a bottle. They're sealed, they're packaged. But at this point, they're not actually ready to ship out to you. This is another voluntary step that USANA is doing. We're not just assuming that everything went well during the manufacturing process, but we want to make sure that in addition to having high quality raw ingredients, that we, during our manufacturing process, didn't introduce any contamination along the way. And also that we mix the ingredients in the right amounts, that we measure them correctly, we blended them correctly. So we'll quarantine this finished good while we send the tablet back to the lab for many of those same exact tests. We're testing to make sure that all the different vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients are at the correct level within the product, that doesn't have any biological or heavy metal contamination within the product. And only after that it's passed all those steps can we put it on the shelf and have it ready to ship out to our customers. So when we put our little potency guarantee on our bottles, or you hear what I'm talking about with high quality products, this is really what it means to us, is that we're meeting the highest standards of anywhere around the globe, and that every step along the way, from both scientific ideation to finding the raw ingredients to collecting those raw ingredients and then end manufacturing, that it's meeting those standards all along the way. I mentioned briefly the NSF International. So the specific program is called NSF Certified for Sport. And then we also worked with a group called Informed Choice, which does similar testing. And what they're testing for is about 270 plus banned substances. And we want to make sure that the contents within the product actually match what's on the label and that it doesn't have any unsafe contamination of any of these ingredients. So this is really neat because we offer a $1 million athlete guarantee. If any of our sponsored athletes take one of our products that we have the Certified for Sport program on, and they test positive due to our contamination, we would compensate them for any lost wages or winnings from any sort of sport. And because of that, we have thousands of different athletes that trust you and take USANA products all around the world. We'll skip that video. So that's really kind of ultimately everything we go through to provide both high quality and scientifically based products. For next week, we have, this is kind of typically a multi-part presentation that I'm sharing. So I shared the third part, how is USANA different? Well, next week you can join me. We'll look a little bit closer at what some of these nutrient levels are that USANA is looking at when we do our research development, why you should take a supplement. So if you want to join us next week, I'll share a little bit more with you about the actual nutritional details of some of our products, specifically the Cell Essentials is our primary one, which is really the first product you should be taking. If you're ever questioning, if you're new here to USANA, you're wondering what product should I take, really our core multivitamin, multi-mineral product, the Cell Essentials, is your starting point. And then depending on your individual needs, whether you have cardiovascular health concerns or joint health concerns, you're looking to lose weight, then you can add on individual products depending on what you are most concerned in with beyond that. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for your time. And I'll hand it back over to TJ.
Yeah, thank you so much, Austin. I appreciate the information you provided. And one thing that stands out to me, and Austin, I think one thing is so unique about USANA is with the FDA, the NSF Sports Certified and pro-choice, and even to kosher and halal, like all these extra certifications and registrations and testing that we go through for these external groups on top of what we do internally is all on a volunteer basis. And I think that's something that needs to stick. Is that right, Austin? Oh, this is volunteer.
Many of, yeah, the FDA and the TGA are ones that do come in. We have to legally meet some of theirs, but most of these are voluntary type things. Even a few years ago, we had the FDA, which comes and audits our facilities annually. They had a new person on their staff, and because ours is it's pretty easy, it's quick, and they basically know we meet all of their standards. They brought their new person to our facility first. They just showed up. They didn't tell us anything. Like, yeah, we need to train somebody new. So we wanted to show them kind of the gold standard of what a good facility looks like before we drag them into somebody that's a little bit messier. So we have a good relationship with these people as well.
That's incredible. That says a lot. I think that really says a lot when the FDA comes in and says, "Hey, listen, we want to show this person what."
Yeah, they're new staff members. They want to teach them easy.
Yes. That's a huge thing. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, and like Austin said, next week Austin's going to be back with us, same time. Here we'll be sharing more about why we need to take supplements. Right? I hear that a lot. Like, I don't know, I just eat healthy, or I'm like, okay, that's great. But Austin's going to talk about that. Like, yeah, it's great, but what does supplements do? Why do we need them? So join us next week. Austin, thank you so much for being here today with us. In the comments, whether we're streaming this to Facebook and to YouTube, please share this with somebody. Again, like I said earlier, this is the intention and our purpose is we want to get this information out to know why USANA is so different, how it can help other peoples, because the mission of USANA is to create the healthiest family on earth. And so we want to share that with more people. So make sure you share this with others. Come back next week to hear Austin. We'd love to see your thoughts, what you learned, what you're going to share with other people in the comments. So thank you, everyone. Austin, thank you again. And we'll see everyone next week.